Okay, so we're going to start with Adam real quick, and then when he joins, Ms. Schwanger, we can just let him in. So I'm going to call to order the Monday, April 26, 2021 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to start with a brief roll call. Mike Fournier, zooming in from Royal Oak, Michigan. Commissioner Douglas.
Present in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Perush.
Here from Royal Oak.
Commissioner Hunt.
Here in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Colo.
Here in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Macy.
Here in Royal Oak.
All right, and Commissioner Dubuck is just running a little bit late, so he will join us here shortly. There's been a request to adjourn to closed session to discuss collective bargaining and attorney-client privileged information. Is there a motion to that effect? Motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Colo. Discussion on the motion? Okay, we will do a vote. Commissioner Macy?
Yes.
Colo?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Perush?
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, Ms. Schwanger, let us know when we're in closed session. Thank you. All righty. We're going to resume the public meeting at this time. We're going to. I think we're getting our notice. Okay, we're going to resume.
You're all set.
We're all set. Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Schwanger. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. We're going to start with roll call again. Mayor Mike Fournier calling in from Royal Oak, Michigan. Commissioner Perush.
Commissioner Perush in Royal Oak, Michigan.
Commissioner Hunt.
Here in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Colo.
Here in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Macy.
Here in Royal Oak.
Commissioner Dubuck.
I'm here in Royal Oak.
And Commissioner Douglas.
Here in Royal Oak.
Before we begin with the invocation, I am having a few static issues here. So Commissioner Perush, if I fall off the face of this Zoom meeting, I got some bandwidth issues, it appears. I'm going to try to figure that out, but I may be going in and out a little bit, hopefully not, but I just want to give that pre-warning just so, everyone knows that I just didn't hightail it out of here, that I'll be logging back in. Okay. All right, we're going to start with an invocation given by Commissioner Macy, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner.
Spring is the transition from winter to summer, and it's safe to say that the last year has felt like a long winter. This past weekend, we saw signs of spring. We saw our parks filled with disc golfers, kids on soccer fields, dogs on walks, families on the playgrounds. Royal Oak in bloom, a Mother's Day staple of the city, will be back in just 2 weeks. The Royal Oak Sandlot League is assigning teams and setting schedules for the season. The Royal Oak Leprechauns are announcing player signings. Our Memorial Day parade is scheduled to go forward at the end of May. None of these things were happening last spring. The past year, we've suffered so many lives lost, people out of work, businesses failing. And when we thought we were turning the corner on the virus in March, like an April snowstorm in Michigan, we were reminded how long it can take to escape winter. Suddenly, younger people were flooding hospitals and our daily cases reached new highs. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, or to continue the spring metaphor, the crocuses are peeking out of the snow. As our case numbers start to decline again, we obviously must remain vigilant for symptoms, quarantine when necessary, make safe decisions, and get vaccinated. But perhaps we can finally start looking ahead to enjoying the activities we lost a year ago. Kids scoring goals and hitting home runs, picking just the right plant to showcase the work we've done in our yards during quarantine, and coming together as a city on Memorial Day to honor those who've made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. These shared activities, even if still masked and socially distanced, give me the same hope that the first 70-degree day does in March, that we will emerge from the darkness together with a renewed appreciation for the little things in life, ready to find joy in the day-to-day gifts of each other and our community that we have not been able to fully embrace, figuratively and literally, for too long. Amen.
Amen. Excellent invocation, Commissioner Macy. I'll ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you can stand, please do so.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Macy. All right, that brings us to item 8, public comment. Ms. Schwinger.
Mayor Fournier and members of the City Commission, we had 49 calls taken this evening, and I will play them for you now.
Thank you, Ms. Schwinger.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I just need to do one step. I'm out of practice.
Good evening. Lou Fleury, 1516 North Maple. No rants today. On April 13th, my granddaughter and I noticed that my wife was having trouble speaking and forming words. I suspected she might be having a stroke and called 911. Fire and ambulance arrived, checked her over and transported her to Beaumont. She was given that heavy-duty blood thinner to break up any clots. I think the doctors and nurses did very well and took care of her with their quick actions. My wife is doing very well right now, thanks, going through therapy. She said later that the paramedics calmed her down and took great care of her. I called Chief Cummins and told him of the crew's response and expertise. He said he would relay my comments to that crew. You know, we complain when things are not to our satisfaction, and we should. But I also think we should acknowledge when things go well. And I try to, but in this case, I'm not giving kudos to the guys because I'm a former city employee. I'm giving my praise because my wife is still here. Thank you.
This is Monica McCabe, 1607 West Houstonia Avenue. Last year, Public Service took down a 100-year-old tree in front of my house. Even though engineering had approved it, I watched the whole street go in. That tree had every right to live. I have been walking with my friend and his dog, and there are no fewer than 12 gorgeous trees that have been cut in my neighborhood, and not just around the Shrine area. We walk the dogs a lot of places. I have an email that I'm sending to the mayor showing these stumps of these beautiful trees. We used to have a gorgeous canopy, and we bought our homes here because of the beautiful trees. I just want you to know that people on my street are very unhappy. Our previous public service employees listen to us. It seems like our current forester is into urban destruction, urban butchery. I'd like to put a blue dot right on his face and see how he likes it. People yell at him all the time. He's told Aaron Filipinski this, And I said to Aaron, why doesn't he listen to anybody? You are butchering our property values. My street used to have beautiful trees. Now it's barren. People here are unhappy. And he just keeps going along, turning it into a desolate wasteland. These trees are healthy, a lot of them, and I have taken pictures. They're taken down by the school. They're taken down by one lady's house who's a wonderful gardener. She puts stones around all of the base of the trees and has beautiful plantings. Our so-called forester is going around destroying and removing perfectly good trees, and no one seems to be listening or caring or stopping. Most places try to save the trees. They will do anything to have our trees, and you're turning it into looking just like Levittown. And even in Madison Heights, they can't cut down trees. This guy is out of control, and Aaron doesn't stop him. Aaron has not returned my many phone calls. I've called Holly in engineering. I've left messages that found out that Dave Gilliam is retired. Doesn't anybody care about our city? It's disgusting. There used to be big trees all over Northwood. There were 6 or 7 big trees taken down. My friends had a cherry tree that they looked at for 25 years outside their window. This is Monica McCabe.
Janice Wagman. At the last meeting, I was surprised the commission didn't revise the footprint of the social district when you voted to approve it. As I mentioned during public comment, Royal Oak City Ordinance number 515-7 specifically prohibits bringing alcohol into any Royal Oak Park except under specific circumstances, none of which apply to the social district you approved. This should never have passed as proposed. Eagle Plaza, according to the Parks and Rec Master Plan, is a city park. Tonight, I expected to see a proposed first reading of an amendment to our city ordinance, or the exclusion of both Eagle Plaza and eventually Centennial Commons from the social district. When do you intend to resolve this conflict? Also missing from tonight's agenda is reconvening the downtown task force. The mayor was elated when the Bogie office building deal promised 700 high-paid individuals employment to support our downtown businesses and restaurants. As we know, Mr. Bogie switched his proposed development to doctor's offices with far fewer employees, outpatient procedures, and eventually no taxes to the city. Further, the pandemic has impacted the demand for office space, not only by government entities like the state and Oakland County, but private entities as well. Also, many downtown PUDs have required ground floor retail. Charlene Douglas announced the city has indicated they don't work in Royal Oak. I'm concerned many of the new office spaces and retail desired by the last task force, as well as the plethora of new multifamily developments, are and will continue to be vacant. We need to assess the vacancy rates for the downtown and update the downtown plan. A lot has changed since 2014 that necessitates the reactivation of the downtown task force. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Colleen Newman, and I live at 3206 North Connecticut. We have lived in that house for 33 years and have lived next to the individual who lives at 3202 North Connecticut. We have put up with all his junk that he's lived with and have never called, but he now has had rats since at least 2010. We began calling 2019. He has a tremendous infestation of rats. We have been in contact many times with code enforcement. They have come out recently. He has had to hire exterminators in the past, but has done things to block that. He has blocked the traps that the rats go in with rocks so they have no access to get in to get the poison, and there's no access to his backyard so that code enforcement can see what's going on. We are not necessarily in favor of poison because it also affects the environment and the other animals. There are ways to destroy the den rats that can be done with dry ice. It's much more humane versus poison. But we watch as he feeds them birdseed and provides a ramp to get to the table to get the birdseed. We can watch, 8, 10 rats frolicking around. We have paths in our backyard leading to and from his property. It is disgusting. We cannot let our dog out except on a leash at all times. We can hear them going through his ivy. He has rat dens all over his property. I know code enforcement has been making him do some things like cleaning out debris where they are harboring. We think they are in his garage. We watch them go in and out of his garage. We have no idea if they're in his home. We have lived next to this man for 33 years. It is unacceptable that we have to live this way. I have anxiety about them. I don't want them on my property. They carry diseases. So we want this to be known. It is a terrible, terrible problem, and it's terrible for both the neighbors and all the neighbors that we have to live like this. If you ever want to reach me, again, my name is Colleen Newman, 248-496-5823.
Hi, I'm just calling in to say I support the veterans in their request to keep the monument in its current place. And that's basically all I wanted to say. My name is Misha Anton, and I thank you very much.
My name is Kathleen Lorenz. I am calling to protest the action taken to try to circumvent the public vote on moving the memorial for veterans, and I am incensed that you would bypass input from our valued public servants that were veterans to ask them about even moving it. So I, in fact, hope that government starts representing people instead of their own political wishes. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Tom Roth. I live here in Royal Oak. I'm also the incoming commander of the American Legion Post 253 in Royal Oak. My message is regarding the movement of the Veterans Memorial. I believe that the city commissioners should stop using our tax dollars to prevent voters from having a say in whether the Veterans Memorial stays where it is. Despite veterans collecting enough petition signatures to force commissioners to keep our memorial in its current location or put the matter up to a vote, our interim city attorney, paid for with our tax dollars, tells the Detroit News that our government will stall for 45 days while looking for excuses as to why voters shouldn't have the right to make their choice, in turn disenfranchising them. What excuses she has in mind, she doesn't say. I guess the only thing transparent about Royal Oak City government is the disdain of our mayor and commission have for all the people who live here and pay their bills here. Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, follow the charter. Either keep the memorial where it currently is or let voters determine its fate. Stop trying to steal our right to vote. Thank you.
My name is Mary Alice Wright. I've been a resident of Royal Oak for over 4 years, and I've been a resident in the area for over 40 years. I'm calling about the Veterans Memorial Park, and I want you to know that I tremendously object to it being moved. That is like hallowed ground. Both my brother and my father and multiple uncles served in Vietnam or World War II or World War I. They all sustained injuries. I just cannot believe that you are thinking of disrupting that hallowed ground by moving it. Thank you very much.
Charles Simchina, former city attorney, city commissioner, and son of a disabled American veteran. Voter suppression is now the City Commission's latest trick to frustrate voters, veterans, and their supporters who worked hard to restore voting rights suppressed by the Royal Oak City Commission. In 2007, 90% of voters approved a law to preserve and protect the Veterans Memorial and the green space around it. It guaranteed that future decisions about the Veterans Memorial would be made by voters. To move the memorial or to build on its green space requires another vote by Royal Oak residents. But our City Commission refuses to allow voters to exercise these rights. They are about to move the memorial to a small, insignificant location and build other uses on the green space without allowing another vote. These commissioners refuse to follow the intent of the 2007 law that voters approved. Recently, some brave men and women gathered petition signatures from approximately 1,000 Royal Oak residents to restore our voting rights on November's ballot. They have followed all the city charter's rules. But the commission has hired a law firm paid with taxpayers' money to help them fight voters from exercising their right to vote. They have fabricated another story to get around the charter and claim that voters do not have any rights to determine the future of the memorial. Allowing people to vote could be easily accomplished by one simple approval of the commission, who can place the future of the memorial back in the hands of voters where it belongs. This begs a few questions about the commission. Why are they afraid of voters? What are they trying to hide? Why do they fight so hard to take away our right to vote? Do they dislike the memorial, voters, or veterans? Why is it so important to diminish the significance of the memorial? Are political contributions behind this again? The City Commission has suppressed our rights. Voters should demand that the Commission be honest and place the proposal that gives us back our rights on November's ballot.
Hi, Terry Myers, Roland Avenue. Just want to talk about the Veterans Memorial. There are enough signatures above what is needed for this to be placed on the November ballot. This commission needs to approve this, listen to the citizens of Royal Oak, and abide by the city charter. An article in the Detroit News stated that the signatures collected had been validated. Now we have to wait 45 days. Why is this? A new rule in your playbook? So you can move the Veterans Memorial anyway before letting the citizens of Royal Oak vote? Quit doing what you want to do and start representing the citizens of Royal Oak and start respecting our veterans who fought for your freedom. As for Mr. Brake, stop being so arrogant.
Hi, my name is Patty Van Small Murphy, and I'm calling in regards to the disrespect you are showing the veterans of the city of Royal Oak who had the petitions that they needed to put this wonderful thing that you're doing on the ballot. But you have again disregarded it, and I am fully disappointed in how you are doing this. What a disgrace you all are. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I am like beside myself with this. You are a total disappointment, and you should be checked for your actions now.
Erica Sykes, longtime Royal Oak resident. I am calling to ask that you allow our city clerk to perform her legal duty to certify the veteran-sponsored ballot initiative so that their proposed ordinance can be placed on the November ballot. Stop with your stall tactics, utilizing our tax dollars to hire a law firm to find excuses as to why you don't need to follow our city charter. Why are you so afraid to allow residents to ask for legal redress when they feel their government is not listening to them and allow this proposed ordinance to be placed on the ballot? Is it perhaps because you know you disenfranchise the veterans by leaving them out of the discussions of what you planned on doing with their memorial, and or you know your community engagement was weak and designed to create the outcome you wanted and not what residents wanted? You all continue to add insult to injury with your continual abuse of power and disdain for those who disagree with you and or your point, or point out your inability to follow our city's constitution. Do you need a reminder that our city charter defines what you are allowed to do and not to do? If you had all just done what is required of you per the existing Veterans War Memorial Ordinance number 156, veterans and residents would not have been forced to hold you accountable by initiating a ballot initiative to force you to do what you should be doing, which is following our city charter and our ordinances. You all claim to support veterans and have deep respect for them. You also claim to respect the voters, but your actions speak otherwise. You disparage anyone who doesn't agree with you or your political ideology, including even those who fought to protect our rights to disagree, the veterans. You have a moral and ethical obligation to honor the intentions of the veterans, the donors, and voters who elected to preserve and protect the current memorial's location back in 2007. They were told that the ordinance language would protect it from any future move or development around it without another vote of the people. You should honor the intent that the ordinance was designed to provide. Veterans and their supporters collected more signatures than required by our city charter to place a proposed ordinance on the ballot to force you to do the right thing. And it is shameful how you are all trying to prevent voters to legally redress their government when they feel they have been wronged. Let me remind you that you are elected to serve Royal Oak residents. Royal Oak residents are not your subjects, required to serve under your supreme authority. Stop treating Royal Oak as your own personal kingdom to do what you desire. I will be working very hard to ensure that none of you get reelected when your terms are up. And do not be surprised if those of you who are not up for reelection this November find yourself subject to a recall petition. Shame on you. Royal Oak residents deserve a government that respects our laws and solves resident problems, not create them.
This is Bill Harrison, 2729 Trafford, Royal Oak. The Veterans Memorial is currently located on land protected by an ordinance requested by the Downtown Development Authority per Commission Letter 316 dated 10/17/05 to be, and I quote, a mechanism under the law that would keep the monument where it is in perpetuity. I was a member of the DDA in 2005 and a strong advocate that the memorial remain in the current location in perpetuity. We relied to draft the ordinance to protect the memorial location. The DDA, voters, and donors were told that if they vote for the ordinance, the memorial could not be moved or the land built on without another vote of the citizens. 90% of the voters approved this law in 2007. You now claim that the memorial location within the site is not protected by the ordinance. The Commission has now decided that you are above the law or do not have any moral responsibility to abide by the intent of the ordinance. Signatures have been collected to place a proposal on the November ballot for a new ordinance that will confirm the current location of the monument as originally intended. You have now hired legal counsel and a PR firm to deny the citizens of the right to vote on the future of the memorial. You are also moving forward with electrical service relocation adjacent to the memorial without providing any protection for the memorial as you did for the oak tree adjacent to the old City Hall during construction of the Ford Clinic's building. This behavior is deplorable and well beneath that which we expect from our elected officials.
This is Betty Ann Callanan, and I would like to support the ballot initiative for the veterans so that the people, they can make a difference about their having to move. This is for the veteran input. I think they need to have input on this, and it should not be, dictated to them. They are a wonderful organization. My husband is a veteran, and we need to support them. Thank you very much.
My name is Jerry Gorski. I am the VFW National Council Administration member representing 35,000 VFW members throughout Michigan and including VFW Post 1669 in Royal Oak. I just happen to be a member of the American Legion Post 253 in Royal Oak and just happen to be a member of the Disabled American Veterans Chapter 19 in Royal Oak. I also lived in Royal Oak for 21 years. In all my travels over the years throughout Michigan and participating in Memorial Day parades and memorial events honoring our veterans who have served our country, I have never come across a city government who did not respect and honor the veterans who gave their lives, the ultimate sacrifice. So you, our elected officials, have the freedom in city government today. There are 188 names on the Veterans Memorial. What do you think they would say to all of you if they were alive today? Think about it. You Royal Oak elected officials made it very clear that you view our Veterans Memorial as an inconvenience. You made it clear in a way of a grand plan that the Veterans Memorial is something to be thrown to the side, like an unwanted trinket. You also made it clear that you, our elected officials, do not value the opinions of the voters. Despite the veterans gathering more than enough petition signatures in record time so the voters have the opportunity to choose whether our Veterans Memorial remain in its current ideal location, I said ideal location, you elected officials appear committed to finding a way to shut out the voters from having their voices heard. I want you to remember this last statement. One day, there will be an election. When that day comes, who do you think the veterans and the citizens of Royal Oak will vote for? It will not be for any of you. Mayor Fournier and commissioners, keep this in mind. Remember karma. Thank you. My name is Jerry Gorski.
Sorry.
Hello, my name is Kathy Bolton, a resident of Royal Oak on Rochester Road. I'm calling about the Veterans Memorial. I want the City Commission to vote yes. I want the memorial where it is now. I do not want it moved. It was paid for to move it to this location years ago, and I think it should stay there. And I think we should honor our veterans rather than trying to put them off in another spot. Thank you.
Yes, this is Gina Olson. I live on Sheridan Drive in Royal Oak. I am concerned about the Veterans Memorial. It's been proposed that it be moved from the library grounds where it's been for forever to another spot. I understand that there has been a petition that has more than enough signatures to place this issue on the November ballot. And the City Commission, in their great wisdom, has decided to ignore that petition. I am very unhappy with that. How dare they to ignore the people's will? So I would suggest that the petition be acknowledged, that the issue be put on the November ballot, and let the citizens vote for the issue. Yay or nay? Thank you.
My name's Ann Duncan. I'm placing a vote yes in support of the veterans
sponsored ballot initiative, and that this should be preserved and protected by the Royal Oak Council and for the Royal Oak Veterans War Memorial.
Kevin Cook, U.S. Army Desert Storm veteran. Do not move the Veterans War Memorial.
Hi, my name is Linda M. Cook, and I'm calling in regards to the Veterans statue. I think it's terribly wrong. Hi.
In regard to the Veterans Memorial in the city, I will say that freedom comes at a cost, and people's lives were paid for our freedoms to put that monument where it stands. To destroy it, to move it, to deny its existence is just wrong. I'm against your moving it. I'm against the city of Royal Oak moving it. I'm a member of the public, a citizen of Troy, Michigan, and I have people whom I have lost in Vietnam War, and freedom is not free. And I'm against your decision to move that Veterans Memorial. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Barbara Bolton. We've lived in Royal Oak for over 30 years, and I would like to see the memorial, the Veterans Memorial issue be put on the ballot so that us voters can decide on this instead of just the leadership of Royal Oak. Thank you.
This is Dr. David Dinger. I'm the commander of the American Legion Post in Bloomfield, the Harold A. Furlong American Legion Post 339. I'm calling to urge the City Commission to vote yes and support the veteran-sponsored ballot initiative to preserve and protect the Royal Oak Veterans War Memorial. I have many friends in Post 253, the Royal Oak Post, and I'm calling to support their cause. It's a noble cause, and from what I understand, the City Commission is ignoring the will of the people, which is a constitutional right for a ballot initiative to collect signatures and get a project on the ballot. I'm calling to support that. I support the Royal Oak veterans, and I have many brothers in that organization in your town, the Post 253. Thank you.
D. Banworth, 2613 Ardmore Avenue, Royal Oak. I just urge the City Commission to vote yes to support the Veteran Ballot Initiative for one simple reason. The names of the men and women that are on that memorial who gave the ultimate sacrifice. The other issue, the city should have instructed the park architect to design the park around the memorial, which is beautiful. How many times are we going to dig up these souls and keep moving their memorial? They should have thought of that, but they thought of their own special interest, and the commission worried about where they're going to park food trucks and so on and so forth. So I just urge the commission, think of those names, stand in front of it. I was there the other day and looked at it, and I'd like to know who instructed the city to cut down the arborvitaes behind the memorial, which is the memorial. Who gave that order? Just like a punch in the gut to all the people that are supporting this. Who did cut down and who was told to do that? Anyway, vote yes. We're all watching. We've got a lot of veterans, and we got people who care about the veterans. So just move forward and do the right thing.
My name is John Williams. I'm the adjutant, which is the assistant to the commander at the American Legion Post number 253 at 1505 North Main Street in Royal Oak. We've been opposing the moving of the monument at the Royal Oak War Memorial since last March 2020. We have gathered 872 signatures verified by the city clerk when we needed 665 to put on the ballot a proposal that the monument can be moved only with a vote of the voters. I'm of the understanding now that the city's trying to get around this. They've hired a private law firm to look into negating what we've done and trying to do something different. We understand that the commission can approve the petitions that we've done and stop the movement of the monument, and if not, send it to the voters for a ballot proposal in November. I want to make note of a incident that happened on Saturday, April 3rd at the Hollywood Market. I was there at 11 o'clock in the morning. I was going to stay till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We were gathering signatures on petitions. We had plenty of signatures. Everything was going well. When about 3 o'clock, the manager of the store came out and very politely and very profusely apologized that he had to ask us to leave, that somebody from the city had called with complaints. We didn't argue with it. We didn't debate it. We just packed up and says, okay, fine, we'll leave. Then it hit me later, wait a minute, nobody from the city's closed on Saturday. Who called from the city? Well, it turned out later that a county commissioner named David Woodward had just left the Hollywood Market shortly before the call came in from the city. City people were gathering petitions to get themselves reelected at Crispelli's, a place just north of the Hollywood Market and across Main Street. Now, was this coincidence or is this a dirty trick? I spent many years as a veteran at duly authorized events from the at all the Hollywood markets, from Royal Oak to Rochester. I've been to the Holiday Market in Royal Oak. I've been to the Hillers in Berkeley and Farmington Hills and Durst Lumber in Berkeley. I have never been kicked out of a duly authorized veteran event. This was a dirty trick. This was politics. There's no politics involved here. Please leave it alone. Stop the movement of that monument. We are not a political organization. Thank you. Have a good day.
Hello, my name is Ron Wolf. My first comment is, what's going on with the Kim Gibbs memorial that's supposed to go into Barton Park? I looked at your agenda. There's no mention of what you are doing, what's going on with the veterans. I am so dismayed that the new city manager, I don't even know his name, he's just a hired gun like John Johnson was. And all he's doing is, and all of you are nothing but hired guns for special interests like Ron Bogie, who is a stakeholder and has determined that he wants the Veterans Memorial removed. Now, why do you want the Veterans Memorial removed? You never made that clear. Is it because you want to replace it with a bathroom for the splash pad? Is it because you want to put in food trucks? Is it because Mr. Bogie possibly wants to open up a ground floor restaurant at the Henry Ford Clinic and maybe put out tables? This is supposed to be a public park, not a private development for John Witz and Ron Bogie. I would demanding that you take action. And I'm telling you that people of Royal Oak are fed up with your shenanigans, and I am going to push them to try to recall most of you. I'm also including Dave Woodward, who had the audacity to walk into the Hollywood Market and ask that the people gathering, veterans collecting signatures, be disallowed from collecting signatures. This is what veterans fought and died for? You are disgusting, all of you. Now, normally, you would have been very fine human beings, but I believe the city charter has invited the corruption and the nonsense that is going on today. $100 million in bonds need to be paid, and Mr. Bogie you give him the power to switch his promised Class A offices over to a nonprofit Henry Ford clinic that pays no taxes and is able to be sold back to Henry Ford Clinic at any time Mr. Boji wants? I want to know what you're doing. Are you representing us, or are you just hired guns for Ron Boji, John Witz, and assorted other special interests? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Donna Melton. I'm a voter at 7 North Vermont. I'm calling to ask the City Commission to vote yes on the initiative to keep the Royal Oak Veterans War Memorial where it is currently located, not to move. Thank you very much for your consideration. Goodbye.
Hello, my name is Norman Malden. I'm calling concerning the Veterans War Memorial. Whether that's the paving or not, I do not know. But I am extremely frustrated and rather disappointed that after a motion has been voted on by the voters and approved by the voters, the City Council says that they're going to do what they want to with the movement / removal of the War Memorial. And then on top of that, after the veterans get together and sign a petition in order to reinforce the law, because that's whenever it's voted on, it's made law, all of a sudden now they're being held up on technicalities and construction / destruction is continuing. So, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, should this, course of action continue, I will come over from Novi and I will assist the veterans of Royal Oak in campaigning against the current city council whenever it comes time for re-election. And the mayor. So, the course of action is the ball's in their court. You have a good day. Please feel free to contact me. My number is area code 248-767-3260. Thank you very much, and you have a good day.
Hi, my name is Sharon. I'm just calling to vote yes on protecting the War Memorial, and that's all I have to say. Thank you. Bye-bye. It's the Vietnam Vets War Memorial. Thank you. Bye. Hi, my name is Sharon. I'm just calling to vote yes on protecting the War Memorial, and that's all I have to say. Thank you. Bye-bye. It's the Vietnam Vets.
Hi, my name is Joanne Spence. I'm calling to urge the City Commission to vote yes and support the veteran-sponsored initiative to protect the Royal Oak Veterans War Memorial. As a citizen who grew up in Royal Oak and has moved back to Royal Oak in the last 5 years, it's really discouraging to see the political process subverted and the will of the people not listened to. As the daughter of a veteran, I feel very strongly that the memorial should be protected and that it should go to a ballot and let the citizens of Royal Oak decide what should be done. Thank you.
My name is Jane Dwyer, and I think it's an absolute disgrace the way you snuck around the petitions and the wishes of the veterans that they didn't want the memorial moved. I didn't realize I thought we were living in the United States. I didn't realize we were living in Cuba. It's a disgrace. This is a country for the people and of the people, not just you people on the commission of Royal Oak.
Kathy Putnam, proud wife of a veteran who served our country honorably for 23 years with several deployments in the Middle East. He has marched several times in the Royal Oak Memorial Day Parade and on over to the War Memorial across from the library. He and I were proud to honor the veterans at the Memorial Day ceremony, which is able to comfortably accommodate many citizens in its current peaceful space. Many citizens and veterans worked hard to secure the required amount of signatures, and technically there were 200 plus over the required amount to not move the memorial. Instead of the commission voting on this and placing it on the ballot, I understand that the commission will be spending tax dollars to ignore the city charter and move the memorial. As elected officials, you need to follow the city charter and do what is required and place this proposed ordinance on the November ballot. I am extremely displeased with the actions of this commission. You are not honoring the veterans. Rather, you are disrespecting them, and you are also not honoring, you are disrespecting the citizens of Royal Oak. Follow your oath, follow the city charter, and do right by the citizens and the veterans, and place this ordinance on the ballot. Kathy Putnam, proud wife of
Hi, I wish the city of Royal Oak were interested in my comments as well as the other citizens. My name is Richard Murphy, and I've been a resident of Royal Oak for well over 20-some years now, and I have to tell you that I'm again disgusted with what's going on in City Hall. Again, the mayor and his cronies, all 7 of them, are again showing blatant disrespect for the citizens of this city and everybody else, including our fine veterans who fought in wars and families who lost loved ones to protect and give us freedom so that we can talk about a little park. Here we go again with you guys going off on some tangent, being paid off or something. I want to know, what are you afraid of? If the people are the ones who are supposed to be making these decisions, why are they not? We had a petition going. We want this thing up for a vote. We want the citizens to decide whether to move the monuments or not. They are sacred to many people, many families. And you guys mock it as usual. What needs to happen is all 7 of you need to be sent out of town on a railroad car, to be honest. You guys are pathetic. You're disrespectful, and you ought to be ashamed. And any of your relatives, alive or dead, ought to be ashamed of your actions as well, whether your parents are still alive, because they just must be shaking their heads, thinking, what are you 7 thinking? This is atrocious, and you really, really need to reconsider this stuff, because I have no idea where your brains are going, but it's not working. So figure it out or else get out of town. Thank you. Goodbye.
Pamela Lindell here. The Commission Royalty of Royal Oak has decreed they are more important and only their opinion matters. Too bad for veterans. If our city leaders spent half as much time and money on working with the vets and around the present location of the Veterans Memorial as they are paying our city attorney with taxpayer money to find loopholes in the petition and ways to dismiss the residents' obvious wish to vote to leave the memorial where it's at, we would all come out further ahead. Stop wasting our money, vote yes, and support the veterans-sponsored ballot initiative. Thank you.
Hello, this is William Berardo. I served in the U.S. Army, and I retired from the military in 2015. I deployed to both Iraq and Afghanistan during my military career. I am calling today regarding the planned movement of the Veterans Memorial from its current location. This plan has been stressful for our veteran community and is affecting the mental health of its members. The fact our veteran service organizations have not been consulted compounds these issues. I hope that you understand this point of view and you would reconsider the plan. Thank you for your time.
I'm Stanley Putnam. I proudly
and honorably served our country for 23 years with several deployments in the Middle East. I was proud and honored to march in the Memorial Day Parade with the VFW Acorn Post Color Guard several times. I was also honored and proud to be a part of the Memorial Day ceremony immediately following the parade across from the library. The current space allows for many citizens to gather and honor and pay respects to our enlisted military and our fallen heroes in a peaceful, large, comfortable space, and also accommodates veterans and patrons who need assistance as it is ADA compliant. Veterans and citizens gather the requisite plus amounts of signatures to place on the November ballot. The ordinance to not move the War Memorial from its current space. The Commission instead wants to spend tax dollars and find a way to ignore the city charter. As elected official, it is your responsibility, and you are required to follow the city charter and listen to your constituents. Follow the oath you took, follow the city charter, and do right by your constituents. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Keith Averill, resident of the city of Royal Oak for 70 plus years, and I would like the City Commission to vote yes and support the veteran-sponsored ballot initiative to preserve the Royal Oak Veterans War Memorial. I have a hard enough time finding that in the past, and I thought it'd be moved. I think the location of that to the library is good, if nothing else, for historical reasons, but possibly to educate the young about what some of our Royal Oak citizens have done in the past. Thank you very much.
Dr. Wallace, and 404 Mount Vernon. Again, keep the Royal Oak Veterans War Memorial as it was placed, landscaped, and dedicated in 2006 and 7, and along with it, leave the library entrance alone. First, afford it. Don't spend the $1.5 million in the library entrance. Second, touching the Veterans War Memorial without approval from city residents violates the intent of Ordinance Number 156, as documented in DDA and Commission minutes and newspaper accounts from the period 2005 to 2007. Third, the design process and approval largely excluded the general public and systematically excluded veterans, whose hallowed memorial is directly targeted to be moved and diminished. Analysis of the Nowak and Frous community engagement process documents on romy.gov reveals that the process was either poorly designed, if it were meant to be inclusive, or, which appears more likely, it was carefully designed to exclude anyone who might disagree with such major features as altering the Veterans War Memorial. I know of at least 2 attempts to have veterans included in the early planning that were quashed, primarily by members of the City Commission. Fourth, Royal Oakers' First Amendment rights have been assaulted by people affiliated with the City Commission. When gathering signatures for a petition to place an ordinance to protect and preserve the Veterans War Memorial on the November ballot, veterans and their supporters were harassed at the farmers market, and on the Saturday before Easter, veterans and their supporters outside of Hollywood Market on Main Street were told to leave because the store had gotten a complaint from the city. At the same time, of course, Charlene Douglas was gathering signatures on her nominating petition on the sidewalk outside Chris Bellay's, just a couple of blocks away, without interference from the city. It's clearly voter suppression going on here. Last fall, we heard a lot about rhinos, Republicans in name only. Now what I'm seeing here is dinos, Democrats in name only. Democratic principles today emphasize open, free access to voting, inclusion rather than exclusion. Apparently not in Royal Oak. I do not understand why the City Commission is so intransigent. Leave the Veterans War Memorial Plaza as it has been since 2006-7 and work on other parts of the park. Take down the old City Hall and police station. Work on that area and pay an architect a relatively modest sum to redesign the park, keeping the memorial and library entrance as is. Why destroy yet another part of what makes Royal Oak a desirable place to live?
My name is Dale Malzahn. I'm calling in support of the veteran-sponsored ballot initiative to preserve and protect the Royal Oak Veterans War Memorial. My mother's cousin's name is on that memorial, John William Boehning. He died after right after World War II, and I'd like to see that memorial preserved and protected. It's important to myself and my family. Thank you.
My name is Haley Weiss, longtime resident of the city of Royal Oak, and a city employee for the fire department, and a veteran from Vietnam. Leave the monument alone. You've had enough public support. Just leave it be. Right by the library there. It's a nice spot. Leave the monument alone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, my name is Linda Lindhart. I am a resident of Royal Oak, and I'm just calling to offer my support for the veteran-sponsored ballot initiative and ask that you please leave the memorial where it is. Thank you.
Carol Hennessy, Royal Oak. I have never in my life thought I would have to defend our veterans as I do today. This commission has been so against the veterans that I can't believe a group like this exists. From the very beginning, I asked that the veterans groups and someone from the Memorial Society be on the park committee. The reason being the veterans take care of their brothers and sisters and would have great input. The Memorial Society was ahead of the move of the monument to where it is now, so they would be very knowledgeable. We spent 3 years of planning with the city and the DDA. We got blessings from, at that time, Mayor Ellison and the DDA. Mayor Ellison said that the commission had unanimously voted to have it moved by the Memorial Society, but we had to come up with the money to have it moved. So we did. The citizens, businesses, DDA, and contractors all helped out. We made sure we had room for everything. Handicap accessibility, room for all the veterans memorials that were in all different places in the city, grass space for chairs for people to sit, and so on. They are all in one place now. That is what the City Commission and the DDA wanted. The citizens came together and made the memorial area a beautiful, serene area so our citizens can reflect, pray, and leave messages for their loved ones. There is a room for large crowds to gather for services with the library stairs available to the citizens to have a better view. We have room for chairs for our older veterans and a perfect place for our bands to play, rifle salute, folding of the American flag, and our choirs. It is a perfect place, and the DDA proved it by hiring a company to find the perfect place, and guess what? It was right here at the library. Talking about the library, families have walked out of the library and the children will ask what the monument is. The parents take the children to the monument and explain what it is. It is very moving. The Memorial Society and the Commission back in 2006 and 2007 wanted to protect the monument from being moved, so they put it on a ballot in 2007 asking voters to protect the area by dedicating the land so it could not be sold or moved without voter approval. The vote was overwhelmingly passed by over 90%. Well, this didn't happen. Our commission needs to go. They don't care about our citizens. They only care about downtown and themselves. I'm embarrassed to say I have lived in Royal Oak for 54 years and never, ever wanted to move until now. This moving of the monument is a slap in the face to all our veterans and all the citizens of Royal Oak. The Royal Oak Commission should be ashamed of themselves. To our citizens, this is a voting year for 5 years on the commission. Please remember what this commission did to our veterans, and we will probably be next, like them trying to take away single-family homes. Shame on you.
My name is Nicholas Luxon. I live on Mayfield in Royal Oak. Lived here for 45 years. I was calling to support the veteran-sponsored ballot initiative to let the people decide on the memorial. I was a sergeant in Vietnam and Pleiku, wounded outside Pleiku, and Placerang, Kontum, Anke, Bambituit, and it's an important issue for me and a lot of veterans. So I hope you would let the people decide on this and let it go to a vote. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Donna Stabrava, and I'm calling to encourage the City Commission to vote yes and support the veteran-sponsored ballot initiative that preserves and protects the Royal Oak Veterans War Memorial. Thank you very much, and I will pay attention to what you're doing. Thank you.
Susan Duchateau. I would urge the City Commission to vote yes and support the veteran-sponsored ballot initiative that preserves and protects the Royal Oak Veterans War Memorial. Thank you.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a number of young people call in regarding a skate park, which the mayor thought was a good idea. Those skateboarders should do what the veterans did. The veterans and those who support the veterans put in the work and went out and collected money for 2 years to have the monument relocated in a functional amphitheater setting, complete with marble access ramp, surrounded by trees and benches in the middle of a green field, creating a municipal area that has not only served as a meeting place for veterans and residents, but has acted as a kids' playground for bottle rockets and other library activities, as well as a setting for bands and city concerts. Thank you, veterans, for that. Thank you, veterans, for your service. The veterans and their supporters worked further at the time and asked the city attorney to write an ordinance, which Royal Oak voters passed by 90%, to assure that the monument stays where it is now. Yes, that ordinance, if you read it, it's in its entirety and not pick out some sentences, says exactly that the monument stays where it is, and it should stand, unless it is the voters and not the city council that chooses to move it. Oh, I know some self-worshiping mayor and city council that may think otherwise about who should be honored. By ignoring and then fighting them since the beginning, the council shows their disrespect for the veterans and their hard work. They show disrespect for the citywide vote in the same way they have been disrespectful of the city charter and city votes in everything regarding the Civic Center, which after spending $6.5 million will be graced with plastic porta-johns. The Veterans Memorial area as it is a park, which of course can be added to around it. Rather than having an empty field of grass, many people like having the memorial there as you walk out from the library, or view the memorial looking out of the windows of the library as they work inside. Near to the Star Dream Fountain, the circular Veterans Memorial creates a sense of civic place. The veterans did that. They served our country, and then by creating the location of the present Veterans Memorial, they served the city. They should be honored rather than shoved off to the side. They should be respected. Mr. Mayor, in your upcoming performance on Memorial Day, do not bother uttering the words, "Thank you for your service." They will ring hollow for the hypocritical words they are.
This is Syl from Royal Oak. I'm just calling to ask you to vote to leave the Veterans Memorial in its place right now. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, my name is Mary Beth Harrison. I live at 4261 Cooper. I'm calling in reference to the situation for the Veterans Memorial Veterans Memorial that was supposed to be at the park. And, you know, it is really important that we show respect and our gratitude to these gentlemen who are unfortunately leaving us in droves every day. And I just think, you know, we've already moved the one over by the library several times for whatever reason. And I really think it needs to be in the public space there, in a public park that's close, that many people will be able to see on a regular basis, and needs to be there to remind us of our freedom. So please keep that, you know, in mind. I just feel that it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
This is Sandy, and I'm a Royal Oak resident, and I'm very upset about the whole idea of
Veterans Monument being moved without the vote, that I and my husband signed our petition, and it's the American way, and we just cannot believe that it's not going to be followed through, and we are very upset. We especially love it, the Memorial, Labor Day, and the other dates where we take our son, who's been in Vietnam with no legs, and everybody stands up and applauds, and you want to take that away? Unbelievable and unforgivable. We are supporting that you do the American way, and you make sure that this gets on a vote in November. This is
Mayor Fournier, members of the City Commission, that concludes the public comment for this evening's meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Schwanger. Can you guys hear me? I'm getting a little static now. Okay, good. Give me 1 second here. Okay, that brings us to item 9, the approval of the agenda. But before we do that, I know we had a number of people call in once again, on the Royal Oaks Monument to our veterans. And, it seems there's still a lot of misinformation circulating around. And, just to be clear, the city's memorial to our veterans isn't going away. It doesn't need to be saved. We made this decision, a year and a half ago. And, because people have a differing opinion about the placement of this monument, doesn't mean that, anybody, including a majority of people that we brought into this process, veterans and non-veterans alike, believing that this monument should be placed in an area that is more reverent, giving the total design of the area. I mean, today, right now, the monument's wedged between a parking lot, a pathway, and the steps in the entrance to the public library. So, there's a difference of opinion. We understand that. But, I just encourage people to really, focus on, the reasons behind it, do their research, understand it. Don't take the word for a couple individuals that may be, purposefully or not purposefully circulating some really bad information about just the intent, and also facts about porta-johns that I heard, and food trucks and things of that nature. The memorial, is going to be there. It's going to be tastefully done. It's going to move 40 feet. It's going to be an excellent place to continue our ceremonies. None of that is going away. It's just being fit in a place of better reverence and in a more elevated position in the park to give it the respect that it deserves. And while I understand some people may disagree with that, that's okay. That's how the world works. But many of us up here to say that this commission somehow disrespects veterans, I think is a sad leap. Many of us up here have immediate family members that have served in the military, in combat, and decorated veterans. And, I think that, we get to keep the dialogue and discussion about the topic at hand. If you're upset where it's moving, understand. But, go back, do your own research, look at the meeting minutes, look at all the number of citizens, veterans, and non-veterans alike that participated in this. And, really understand and look at the new design drawings that show that this, slight repositioning really puts the Royal Oaks Monument to Veterans in a prestigious position. And we know we're going to have great respect for it, and much more engagement with the public to really honor the 188 names that are imprinted on the monument. So, and it will be much more accessible. Okay, so we're going to go to item 9, which is the approval of the agenda. Anyone wish to make a motion? Motion by Commissioner Kolo, seconded by Commissioner Perush. Discussion? Discussion, I think I saw Commissioner Douglas. Or is that a delayed? Okay. All right. I warned you, I'm getting a little delayed vision here with my machine. Okay, so and no further discussion. I'll call for the vote on the approval of the agenda. We'll start with Commissioner Dubak.
Yes.
Mr. Kolo?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas,
Yes.
Commissioner Macy,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, that brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything off the consent agenda for further discussion? Commissioner Colo.
Item H, please.
Item H. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, the consent agenda now consists of City Commission meeting minutes from April 12th, claims from April 20th and 23rd, approval of purchase orders, approval of Michigan Department of Transportation Funding Agreement 2021, congestion management and air quality improvements, contract modification to contract SPB Engineering 03003, Star Dream Sculpture Inspection and Maintenance, approval of amendment to agreement, tri-party funding of 12 Mile Road traffic signals, Community Development Department request to fill vacancy, and receive and file the March 2021 investment report. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read? A motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. Discussion on the consent agenda? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. We'll start with Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Perush.
Yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubak.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, item H. Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is a proclamation designating May 2021 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Royal Oak. I think it's particularly important to pull this off the consent agenda because one thing about mental health and mental health awareness is making sure people are aware of it. So I rather us give it a little time to talk about it here. Mental health impacts 1 in 5 Americans, and any of the stigma about it is starting to talk about it. So I'm very proud of the city and the 6 of you and staff for bringing this to our attention today. And with that, I move approval of the proclamation.
Motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. Discussion? I'll just echo Commissioner Colo. I know the stigma of mental illness is strong, and it has been since humanity has been around. And to tackle this, we've all been affected by loved ones who have suffered from this illness and the many illnesses that are considered mental illness. And we should work hard every day as a commission, as staff members, police department, fire department, to really understand and get behind the fact that we should not have a stigma with mental illness, just as if someone were to have a heart condition or a stroke or whatever it may be. So we are making work as a community, and Julie Farhat and her run and her organization have done a great deal over the years as well with the mom race. And so let's keep up the momentum, Royal Oak. All right, I'll call for the vote. We'll start with Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Perush.
Yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
And Commissioner Dubak.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That brings us to item 11, the public hearing of special assessment paving of public alley west of Evergreen Avenue. I see the esteemed Ms. Donahue present here this evening. Ms. Donahue.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. Tonight is the final step in the special assessment paving process before we can actually move forward and put the project out to bid and get it constructed. So tonight is a public hearing for anyone that wishes to speak on the assessment for the special assessment role. After the public hearing is closed, there's no action needed from the commission tonight, unless you for some reason wanted to stop it or something. But otherwise, after the public hearing, we'll just go ahead and move forward and probably be back in about a month or so to award the work and get everything scheduled for this summer.
Questions for Ms. Donahue? All right, so we'll open up the public hearing. I suspect, Ms. Schwanger, we don't have any public comment this evening for this.
You are correct, Mayor Fournier. There was no public comment called in for the public hearing.
So I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to this side of the table. I think that's it, Ms. Donahue, correct? All right, just double checking. All right, thank you. All right. 1 second here, let me get my agenda back up. Okay, that brings us to item 12, which is the Michigan Liquor Control Commission licensed establishment Magical Forks LLC, doing business as Imaginate, request to transfer ownership of Class C license at 401 South Lafayette Avenue. I see Chief O'Donoghue is here.
Yes, Mayor, City Commission, the Royal Oak Police Department has received a request from Magical Forks LLC to transfer the ownership of a Class C license with Sunday sales permit, dance and entertainment permits, outdoor service area permits, and additional bar permit from Dexter Hospitality Holdings LLC to be located at 401 South Lafayette Avenue. The applicant will be doing business as Imaginate. Magical Forks is solely owned by Omar Mitchell. The applicant will spend approximately $25,000 on renovations, including cosmetic updates. These funds will come from his personal savings account. The applicant will lease the building from Dexter Hospitality Holdings LLC for $20,000 per month. The liquor license will be purchased for $1 as part of a lease agreement. Pursuant to the lease, the Class C license will always remain with the property. Mr. Mitchell is an executive chef with over 25 years experience in the industry. He has operated the Great Lakes Burger Bar in Detroit and Table Number 2 in Detroit and continues to operate Craft Creative Catering. None of these ventures have included a liquor license issued by the MLCC. However, the applicant has been approved to hold a Class C license at 561 Monroe Street in Detroit. This location is currently under construction and it's anticipated it'll open after Imaginate. The applicant has employed Salim Harb as the general manager for Imaginate. Mr. Harb has over 15 years experience in the hospitality industry and has managed restaurants in Florida and Virginia that have held licenses. If approved, Imaginate will operate as a fine dining restaurant and lounge. Requested hours of operation are Tuesday through Wednesday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. and Thursday to Sunday, 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. The restaurant will be closed on Mondays. The menu will feature a theatrical dining experience with starters, entrees, and craft beverages. The applicant anticipates the food to alcohol ratio will be 70% food, 30% alcohol. The floor plan will remain unchanged from the previous tenant. The applicant is also requesting to continue using the existing rooftop terrace service area. The rooftop terrace is accessible to the second floor. I'm sorry, I skipped a part. The second floor will only be utilized for special events such as birthday parties, corporate meetings, and private events. They do want to use the rooftop terrace for those events. This area will not have a bar, and alcohol will be served by wait staff only. The rooftop terrace will operate as weather permits. Although overall capacity will be set by the police department, we don't expect it to change from the current capacity. The applicant is requesting both an entertainment and dance permit. The dance permit on the first floor will be approximately 150 square feet, will be located adjacent to the existing bar. This area will be used for dining when not in use. The dance floor on the second floor will be approximately 450 square feet, and as we stated, will be only used for special events. Imaginate will offer occasional live music, including soloists, 3-piece musical ensembles, dinner music trios, and a DJ. The sound will be restricted to a level that will not adversely impact the neighboring or adjoining business owners, and Imaginate will comply with the provisions of the sound ordinance. The applicant has been made aware of the history of noise complaints stemming from the rooftop terrace and pledges its full cooperation with the police department to mitigate those issues. There will be no music played on the rooftop. The applicant has agreed to sign and strictly adhere to the city's entertainment and dance permits agreements. Our findings indicate the applicant has been involved in the restaurant business, and despite having no documented history with MLCC, we do not anticipate this request will cause any strain on the police department. We do not object to the request for approval of a plan of operation. If approved, the applicants will have to comply with all planning, zoning, and building requirements and restrictions. That is all I have, and I do believe the applicants are online if you have any questions.
Questions for Chief O'Donoghue? All right. Applicants, welcome. Anything you want to add to the chief's overview of the request and of the resolution or your plan of operation?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief O'Donoghue. My name is Patrick Howe, legal counsel for the applicant. We have with us tonight Chef Omar Mitchell, acclaimed chef in Metro Detroit. We have General Manager Salim Cobb and a landlord representative, Aaron Bellin. The summary provided by Chief O'Donoghue is directly on point. I don't want to rehash that. We're very excited tonight. Chef Mitchell has been in the restaurant business for over 25 years and his manager over 15 years, and you're going to get a very experienced professional team in Royal Oak. The hours of operation are actually less than what was previously operated under the prior operator, and we're going to bring a first-class dining experience, a theatrical dining experience that Chef Mitchell could explain in more detail to the city. So we think this will be a great asset to the city, a destination dining experience, and we're very excited tonight and ask for your support. With that, I'll turn it over to Chef Omar to add any notes regarding the operation and introduce himself. I think you're on mute, Chef Omar.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Sorry about that. Good evening, Council. How are you?
Good evening.
Great.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. Thank you for having me. Again, on behalf of Imaginate Restaurant, we're excited to be a part of Royal Oak family. Royal Oak has been one of my favorite cities for many, many years as a restaurant haven for me to take a break after work and to walk the streets of Royal Oak and enjoy myself, whether it was going to Tom's Oyster Bar or hitting the local dessert place and picking out not one or two, but three different desserts. So Royal Oak is a very acclaimed place for restaurants, and we're excited to be bringing a fine dining restaurant to Royal Oak, where it's going to be a very high posh dining experience. As Council said, a very theatrical experience. And what that meaning is, for example, all of our food will come out on props. So if you ordered a ribeye steak, it'll come on a butcher block with a 3-foot fork as a prop standing up on top of the fork. Or if you ordered the coconut almond shrimp, it'll come in a kettle popcorn machine. So the entire concept is designed to give you an Instagram worthy or Insta worthy feel where you want to grab your phone and take a picture and share it with family and friends, or post an amazing picture on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter about Imaginate Restaurant. So not only are we bringing a great fine dining restaurant, but we're also trying to be a trendsetter on social media to make not only the state of Michigan, but also the world know that, hey, Royal Oak is a great place to plant your feet for a wonderful restaurant destination. So it is our pleasure to bring a remarkable dining experience with some amazing craft drinks to the city of Royal Oak.
Well, Chef Omar, that sounds amazing. And it sounds like an excellent fit for our community. And I know Bistro 82, for us that, had frequented there pre-pandemic, always had a good reputation, solid service, food experience. And it's a tough one to top, but if your reputation is what everyone says it is, Chef Omar, I'm highly confident that you're going to bring success with this concept with an extra layer of flair that you just described, which is really exciting. I'll open it up to the commission to see what questions they have for the petitioners. Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for being here, Chef. I had one question going into this, looking up about the Disney of fine dining, but I think you just answered that. You had some well-publicized articles on wanting to be the Disney of fine dining, so I'm excited for you to be in town here. knowing that I'm asking this because dinner was long ago and I'm hungry, can you tell us a little bit more about your menu and what type of your culinary background? What what's your influence?
Sure. So I trained under the famed Master Chef Milos at the Golden Mushroom, and I attended Johnson and Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. I have been a famed fine dining student for many, many years, and I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. The general manager, Salim, he's worked in fine dining for a very long time. He's been in the business for 15 years. Over half of his time in the restaurant industry has been fine dining. So we both bring a great approach to that. And yes, why I say I like to be the Walt Disney of restaurants, or the Disney of restaurants, is because anytime I ask someone, have you ever been to Walt Disney World? And they tell me, well, I hope they tell me yes. And if they say yes, then I say, well, what do you remember? And instantly they say it was remarkable. It was fun. It was memorable. It was amazing. And so that's what we're trying to do with Imaginate Restaurant. We're trying to get back to restaurant culinary 101, where folks really had a great time dining at an impeccable restaurant. And that's what we're all about, bringing that whole Walt Disney approach to the restaurant industry.
Great. Thank you, Chef. I appreciate that. Just this is a moment where you're investing in our town. You're investing in us. So I'm excited to see what you can do. And you have a great, beautiful space there. So this is going to be a fun experience.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Anybody else? Any other questions? So what I'm learning is the chicken nuggets on a paper towel for my kids is not what we would call the fine Disney experience, at least for lunch.
We got some great things lined up for the kids. We're definitely not putting the chicken nuggets on napkins, but we got some cool airplanes and some bicycles with wheels and pedals that move while the nuggets are resting there waiting for them to eat them. So we're excited. We're thinking outside of the box.
All right. That'll be a much good change of pace here than when we have a quick dinner at home sometimes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And to add to both of you guys' comments about the venue being a beautiful place, on record, I just want to say that it's an honor and a pleasure for me to be accepted by Aaron and his team, AFB Hospitality, for being allowed to plant our feet in that location, because the location is a remarkable space, and it's a perfect example of a spot on turnkey situation. And to be honest with you, the city of Royal Oak should be very, very honored to have him, because the gentleman has been doing nothing but stand-up business for me, and he gave me a remarkable location. And I want to say thank you to him, and also to the city of Royal Oak for even allowing him to do the business there. And it's a great venue. Again, thank you to both of you all.
Thank you, Chef Omar. And yes, Mr. Whelan did a good job while he was there.
Yes.
And really brought, a point of pride, and we hope you carry the torch forward here. We're rooting for you.
Thank you.
I think Commissioner Douglas has a question.
Just a comment. I'd expect that you will discover kindred spirits across the back alley from your restaurant. The Stagecrafters people are all about props and theatrics. I'm a longtime member there and active with them. And we look forward to finding ways to combine our shared interests.
I look forward to that every day. I look out that back door, and I'm always curious to know what is going on in that place, because I'm curious to get in there and start playing and saying, hey, do you want this? Do you want that? Etc. But I'm very interested to work with their theater goers. I've come from a theater background, so I look forward to accommodating all the theater goers, going to the theater before dinner, before the theater, and just having a great time. So I look forward to a happy marriage with them.
We will have some fun for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? We do have a proposed resolution in front of us. Commissioner Perush?
I'll move approval of the proposed resolution.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Colo. All right, discussion on the motion. All right. right. With none, I'll call for the vote. We'll start with Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubak.
Absolutely, yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Perush.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
And I vote yes with great anticipation. Looking forward to it.
Yes.
All right, unanimous. Unanimous. All right. Well, hopefully we didn't set the expectations too high, Chef Omar, but it's a real privilege and pleasure to have you guys here tonight. Aaron, good to see you. I see you're streaming in here, trying to manage all the Brady Bunch here on my screen. And, Mr. Howell, thank you. And Salim, you're there too. Appreciate you taking time tonight at 9:18. Congratulations. And, wish you the best of luck and that, hopefully we can put this pandemic behind us and get you full throttled. So, we'll keep an eye out and keep us informed and best of luck.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right. This brings us to item 13, which is request to schedule review of the 2021 sidewalk improvement program and new sidewalk locations. The esteemed Ms. Donahue has returned to the sidewalks. I know she just couldn't wait. She wanted this to be the first thing on the agenda tonight, but unfortunately it was number 13. So Ms. Donahue.
Not nearly as exciting a topic as the one before me, but I'll do my best. I don't have the props to make this too fun, but tonight's pretty simple though. Tonight, I'm just bringing a resolution to set the date for the commission to do the formal review and approval of new sidewalks where none currently exist for construction under this year's sidewalk program. Of course, our overall goal being walkability throughout the city of Royal Oak. And so the potential locations that are within this year's sidewalk program are roughly bounded between Main and Stevenson, east to west, west to east, and then from 13 Mile Road down to Farnham. This year, I'm also planning to recommend installation of sidewalks around Normandy Oaks Park. We're not going to be in that area with a sidewalk program until 2026. And considering that we'll probably have some increased visits from pedestrians to the park, I thought it might be a good time for the commission to at least consider it for installation this year. So that's kind of the one location that doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of this year's sidewalk program. So the commission letter that you have tonight, it provides a map of the 22 locations that are under consideration. And then there's a breakdown for each location with photographs and kind of explanation of staff's recommendation. The last time the city commission looked at this area of the city for new sidewalks was back in 2012. So it's been a while. Of the 22 locations, we're only recommending new sidewalk be installed at 7 of them, but there's 22, on the table for consideration. Typically, there's a bus tour with the commission, and I hear it's a hoot and good time. But with the pandemic, we're not recommending that we actually move forward with a bus tour this year. And would encourage commissioners to make some site visits themselves and to check out the sites as time allows. Of course, staff will absolutely answer questions, answer emails. We can meet, socially distanced on site if you have any detailed questions. That's no problem. So my plan is to bring this back to the table for the May 24th commission meeting. And if you move tonight to set that as the date, we'll go ahead and notify all the affected residents beforehand. At least 2 weeks beforehand so that they'll have time to consider it and of course make any public comment at that meeting. So no major action tonight except to approve the resolution to set this date. So it's pretty simple, but I wanted to make sure I brought it up so it was kind of on your minds as something to check out over the next few weeks or so.
Ms. Donahue, just a couple questions about that communication and correspondence. Because I know, maybe several of us were up here. I can see at least 3, probably 4 of us, maybe even that have, some of these, like I remember looking at and driving by in the bus tour in the past. And I imagine, time flies. I can't believe it's been 8 years. I was shocked when you said that. But I imagine some of these folks in these areas are, the green ones that you have highlighted here are going to, is it clear in the correspondence, our process here that we, even though it's been declined, that maybe we chose not to install them in the past, it does go before the commission every so many years. And, it's not, what I mean, that the city is necessarily looking to put them in or not. They want to hear from you, but it's just, we go through the entire city And even though they, nothing's like, because I think some people think like, oh, we just went through this, you know what I mean? And I just want to be clear that this is something routine, and things change and they may not change, but it's something we do. And that I don't know if it's worth, I know putting in there, probably answer some questions about, the sidewalk millage, well, maybe it didn't really apply to the installation. So I guess that's not fully, part of it, but yeah, I just want to be clear because I think some people out of the gate, they see this and 8 years does fly by, and they should just be reminded like this is a routine, but not to not take it seriously. It's just, it's not us pushing it. It's something we do as good managers of the city.
Yes, absolutely. I'll make sure to try and make it a really well-rounded letter without being too much text that people get bored, but hit the important points so that they know why we're doing this, what our goals are. And that it's not a final decision. This letter is just a notice to them, and they're free to express their opinion, and then the commission will make the ultimate decision.
Okay. And I know we there shouldn't be very many left. I mean, we've got 7 that we're looking at again. We went through this years in the past, and we still see the ramifications of some upset people today. Okay, good. Any questions for Ms. Donahue? Okay, I'm looking around. I don't see any. Okay, so you're looking for us to set the date. Anyone want to make that motion? Oh, Mr. Douglas, move.
Yes. Yeah, I'll move the resolution to set May 24th as the date to review these sidewalk proposals.
Okay. We have a second, the motion by Commissioner Douglas, second by Commissioner Macy. Discussion. Okay, with none, I'll call for the vote. We'll start with Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Prush.
Yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Lubach.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, we got a date. Thank you, Ms. Donahue. All right. Now this brings us to item 14, which is the approval of the city attorney employment agreement. Aaron Leal.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Fournier and City Commission. Very pleased to present to you the credentials and the final negotiated contract for Aaron Leal. Mr. Leal is currently the city attorney for the city of Denton, Texas. Denton is in the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area. The community is about a population of 120,000. Their workforce is 4 times our size, and their budget is 6 times our size. So we're fortunate to have the breadth of experience and the complexity of issues that Mr. Leal is handled in his current organization. He has been city attorney there 4 years and has worked for that community for the past 10 years. So first practiced law in Michigan, had 5 years experience with the Barnum Rittering a law firm over in Grand Rapids in the beginning of his career, and has been licensed in the state of Michigan for going on 24 years. So the contract is presented for your consideration, reached out to each of you about the executive compensation package, and appreciate the input that I received. There's a little bit of a hitch in the agreement itself. I believe it refers to an April starting date, but would be starting in mid-June on June 14th. The staff report hopefully should be self-explanatory as far as the key points on the agreement. And this is presented, recommended for your approval.
Questions for Mr. Brake? Pretty straightforward. Commissioner Douglas.
Yeah, I want to talk about the bonus for permanent residency in Royal Oak. Mr. Brake, can you elaborate on that? I mean, off the top of my head, I'm going to say, while it's important for our city manager to live in Royal Oak and for us to incentivize that activity, I'm not necessarily convinced that our city attorney needs to live in Royal Oak. I'm interested in hearing Mr. Brake's take on that and any other comments from my fellow commissioners.
So based on conversations that I had with a few of you that were receptive to including that, that probably sounds familiar, as you mentioned, Commissioner Douglas, that it's a similar provision that's in my contract. I can tell you this much, where I came from previously, the organization did give a financial incentive for all employees to live in the community. And perhaps this brings up the conversation. I don't know if he will fully take that up on us. I did stress the importance that if he does not relocate here, that he does reside in Oakland County. And he freely admitted in the interview that this may not be the destination. But nevertheless, to include that in there as an incentive to live in the city, there's an added bonus when I know from my own experience of speaking to residents and property owners and having that amount of credibility as a property owner as well as a resident here. I will tell you candidly that in the grand scheme of things and the compensation, it's not on the top of his list. But we wanted to have an enriched offering to present for his consideration, and to have him move. I'm guessing I once lived in Texas early in my career, but that the distance of moving 1,500 miles of that it would consider the city. So if you struck it, it would not be a deal killer. It was more for us than it was for him.
Commissioner Dubak?
Thank you, Mayor. I think this kind of incentive, while these kind of legal complications that have happened in public service over the years, for us to offer an incentive and basically in any industry, encourage your employees to consume the very product that they create, has value to the public and the people that we're creating the product for. For example, I have a lot of friends and family that work at GM, and GM does not require you to buy a GM car. But if you drive a non-GM car to work, there is a separate lot for you. You do not get to park in the lot that's right next to the building, right? And I know a lot of you know this. You guys work in the industry, right? I'm not saying that we're stigmatizing or penalizing, but creating an incentive for someone who's going to have a serious influence on the direction of the city to actually experience the influence they have. I think there's value in that to the extent that it's legal and we can do it in a way that's fair to both us and our residents and the prospective hire. I support that. I think there's value in it for everybody involved. I mean, also, who wouldn't want to live in a place where they can bike to work? And we're going to provide an incentive for that. So,
I'll just add to that quick, Commissioner Dubak. I mean, everything you said, plus, in a way, it's an economic incentive. If he, think of 10 years of his salary here, most people spend their money, if it's not on their mortgage, the rest of it they spend locally. So, this is a small amount of money that, might make the difference between him moving here and helping all of our small businesses and restaurants and everybody else. He spends his paycheck here, him and his family. So just think of it that way as well.
There's no denying that experience interacting with our businesses and our residents and being in a neighborhood provides insight that adds value to the job. I'm not saying it's essential to do the job well, but there's no denying there's valuable insight that comes from being here day to day.
Commissioner Hunt.
My comment was moving on with another section of the contract. So I don't know if we wanted to finish up with Commissioner Douglas's comment.
Sure, floor is yours. We can move.
Okay, thank you. I believe that Mr. Leal has a great wealth of experience. We're very lucky to have him coming in, and this is a very routine contract, and it's a very generous contract. My concern is with the $600 a month vehicle allowance. That's $7,200 a year, and it tends to be most likely an indefinite $7,200 a year that's being paid for a vehicle. My concern is there an alternative that we can offer, such as mileage? I understand as a local attorney or as an attorney for the city, most of his travel would be to courts that are local. Is there some sort of alternative that we can offer for that? Because I do feel that that's a big chunk of change to spend indefinitely throughout his contract.
So if I may respond, I think that's a fair issue, and you were not the only one that raised that issue, and I spoke to Mr. Leal about that. Consider this, it's a form of compensation. It also indicates that he is on duty at all hours of the day. And that's part of the consideration as far as transportation and what is necessary. And I'll give you a case in point, something that there was an amendment earlier this month, and I'll do my best to explain this. I had this conversation with interim city attorney McLaughlin about this on the criminal law and procedure. When an arrest occurs on a misdemeanor or a lesser charge, that if there is not an appearance ticket that's given and someone is bound over where they're held in custody, there needs to be approval given by the local prosecuting attorney, hence the city attorney and his assistant. Part of the point that I'm making, based on the dynamics of the job, and we heard earlier this evening of these quickly changing issues, having laws like this, the demands of this position are becoming increasingly apparent, that go beyond the normal 8 to 4:30 hours of the day. So on top of that, Mr. Leal works for coming from a much larger organization. I can tell you, in doing compensation studies, generally larger organizations pay significantly higher. And so I did have that conversation of saying, is there something else that we could call that as something similar? Keep in mind, when you have a car allowance, it's a fixed an amount. And as you indicated, that, yeah, it's for an indefinite period of time. But when the commission adjusts wages, that impacts the base wage, has nothing to do with the car allowance. So it's not like that goes up proportionally if there's an across the board increase. So kind of take those points into view. And I did explore that. There was concessions that he made that initially was on the severance, not to change the topic, but wanted to really stick with the 9 months and negotiated 6 months in the first 2 years of the contract. So there was a give and take in the negotiations with Aaron, but I feel comfortable in making that recommendation to include the car allowance at the stated amount.
So going to Commissioner Douglas's point, you indicated that the 10,000 incentive was not a deal breaker for him. Is the $600 a month car allowance a deal breaker for him?
From what I sense, yes, it would be.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Commissioner Douglas.
So is the $600 a hard number? I mean, I will say, if he does live in Royal Oak, he won't have that much driving to do.
Yeah, the car allowance was greater importance than the ability to reside here. So, to say that one would trade off on the other, I didn't really explore that, viewing the pivot on those two topics per se. But it's, if you remove the residency incentive, that would be a less of a stigma, as opposed to removing or lessening the car allowance.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Commissioner Colo.
I just want to point out, I don't disagree with Commissioner Hunt. Also, we also negotiated $5,000 over the advertised price, so there is a ongoing expense there. But if it's a breaking point, that's also I'm not willing to lose an attorney over $600 a month.
It's going to cost us more to go find another one. Commissioner Dubak.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the conversation. I feel like we've had a really thorough process. We got a very competitive pool of candidates. We landed on Mr. Leo because we knew he's the right fit, the most qualified amidst a very competitive pool. I think a little bit of insurance to make sure, like, if people are going to try and lure him away, it's going to cost them, and he's going to stay here with us and dig in with us and do the things we need to do that is worth the investment. So I'll move for approval of this contract.
Motion by Commissioner Dubak. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. All right, discussion. Commissioner Prush.
I appreciate the concerns that the other commissioners have raised. Those are legitimate issues. But on the other hand, I do not want to lose an extraordinary candidate over things that are trivial is the wrong word, over details that in the context of the entire contract are much smaller than other details. So I will support this motion.
Mr. Bray.
With that motion, I don't know if there needs to be an amendment. Again, I want to draw attention to the agreement on page 1. It says he's starting effective April 14th. So he's already a few days late. So again, my error, it's supposed to be June 14th. So
I thought it said June 14th. It says the terms of the agreement are June 14th.
If you look at duties and authority, it's on at page 1. It's the first full page of the contract.
Of the contract. I got it. Okay.
Yep.
Commissioner Dubak.
Yeah, my intent is for the start date to be June 14th. That's the intended start date?
Yes.
That was the intent of my motion.
All right. Anybody else? All right. We'll call this one. Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Dubak.
Yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Prush.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right. Welcome, Mr. Leal. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. See Mr. Fryer. Okay. This brings us to tonight's last agenda item, which is the approval of municipal parking systems, MPS, parking services and ticket processing service agreements. Chief O'Donoghue and Keith, you guys got the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, City Commission. The Police Department has been working to finalize the parking services agreement and citation processing agreements between the City of Royal Oak and representatives from Municipal Parking Systems or Services, or MPS. MPS representatives have met all our requests and provided us with a comprehensive infrastructure plan for the installation of new parking stations and parking stick bollards that are supported by high-resolution video technology and sensors. If the MPS agreements that are attached are approved, MPS representatives are prepared to begin installation of the infrastructure hardware in phases as determined by the city. The installation of MPS meters and pay stations, license plate readers, and parking sticks will involve some supporting infrastructure costs for the City of Royal Oak. Those costs are outlined in the memo. By way of background information, a memorandum dated back in March 8th, 2021 was included in a previous City Commission packet that contained an update about the staff's due diligence that has been conducted over the past several months. In the document, you will recall the feedback and citizen engagement on the proposed new system was gathered in January of 2021. Is a report that summarizes our outreach effort and demonstrates public support as well as specifics about the proposed parking services and citation processing. It can be accessed through a link in this memo and is available online on the city's website.
if these contracts are approved, this police department will begin immediately working with community engagement specialist Judy Davids to develop an informative public relation rollout plan. Although interim city attorney Ed McLaughlin has reviewed both agreements, and initially I was under the impression that Julie Rudd has confirmed the agreements comply with the bond covenants. I think that's kind of been called into question. So I do believe our interim city attorney has a modified resolution. If she's prepared with it, or I could make a suggestion. But with that being said, our parking service manager, Keith Fry, is on the line, as well as several representatives from MPS to answer any questions the city commission may have. All right, let's open the questions up to Mr. Fry and Mr. O'Donoghue first. Any questions out of the gate? All right, Commissioner Macy.
Could I get a reminder? So when this was first proposed, part of what I felt like the main attraction of it was that there's sort of this comprehensive package that came and was installed essentially for free, and then they collected the revenue to pay for itself over this time. Could I be reminded of what the alternative is, like the cost of the alternative if we don't do this program? Like, what is the cost to install a new system of parking meters similar to what we've had, but presumably with working internet?
Yes, and I will tell you the smart meters that were supposed to be shut off at the turn of the calendar year, they weren't. They're still working as of today. We did purchase a much smaller amount of smart meters to kind of get us through, but our cost will be the normal cost of maintaining them and operating them. And then I think Keith might have some information about when all the G2 meters we have to replace. He'd have that number and the cost. But one of the things, if I could ask, is the cost is one thing, but what the features of this service are kind of what is another aspect to consider. But Keith, do you have that information handy?
I don't have it in front of me, no, but I think back when the commission approved the purchase of 150 meters from Civic Smart, those were just to address the meters that would be obsolete in the most heavily used portions of the downtown area. That was not a complete replacement. In fact, it was nowhere near a complete replacement for the meters that actually need to be replaced. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I don't remember what the commission approved just for the purchase of those 150.
Well, we could find that and get that to you, Commissioner. But as Keith said, if we don't go with MPS, we not only have to replace a lot of the 900 street meters, but all the surface lot meters too that would need to get replaced over time. It's a significant investment.
Right. I was trying to figure out what that whole number was, but I understand you don't have that with you now. But I get that it's not just replacing 150 like we just did. It's a much bigger chunk.
Correct.
Commissioner Newbuck.
Thank you, Mayor. So I think Commissioner Macy's question, I understand the benefits of this system, both to the city, but to users. But I think in order to give direction on final approval, it would be better to have a apples to apples comparison on our understanding of what is our current fiscal outlook, on the parking system look like, and given the current status quo for 1 year, 5 year, 10 years versus this system in 1 year, 5 year, 10 years in a side by side. And Chief, I'm wondering, and Mr. Fry, is that something that we could get in order to help inform our decision making?
I can tell you, we can easily get you the cost of replacing smart meters. The problem with saying what our cost will be 5-10 years out is
it's hard to anticipate where the technology is going to take us. So the smart meters that work today probably aren't going to be what we want 5 years from now, I would say. So, but I can easily get you the cost of, if we replace all the dumb meters or expiring meters, I can get you that cost easy.
So that would be helpful. And yeah, I get it's a kind of a rapidly evolving industry. So any decision we make now might seem silly 8 years from now as technology evolves.
Right.
But if we're going to make a huge capital investment and more specifically and commit ourselves to a contract, which has a specific cost to the city, regardless of what's happening with our parking system, you know, if more people are taking Ubers versus parking, and therefore our revenue goes down, but we're committed to a certain amount of outgoing cost. How do we account for that? And are there ways to consider that in the contract?
Well, I guess to be clear, if our revenue goes down, we're not committed to anything with MPS. So, you know, that they get the 50% of fees and fines, but if for some reason 3 years from now we're all in autonomous vehicles and no one owns a vehicle or whatever, is one of the reasons I like it is we're not out. We haven't invested a lot of money and we're not holding the bag on that. So,
okay. So Chief said nothing about this proposal shortchanges our commitment to our debt obligation to the parking system, our bond obligation to the parking system.
I think that we're waiting on a final, on first glance, it doesn't appear to, but we're waiting on a final legal opinion is my understanding.
So would it be, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the resolution, and I think Ann probably wants to help me with this because I'll probably screw it up, but the resolution is something to add to a caveat at the end of the suggested resolution is this is approved after review by relevant city legal counsel and approved as to form by the city attorney.
So is it?
So there.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Chief. Go ahead.
No, I interrupt you. I was done. Go ahead.
So we're not in a time crunch right now, are we?
We're not on a. No, I guess we're not on a time crunch. We want to have this system up and running when Royal Oak fully opens back up and Henry Ford's back in, and like we stated during the invocation, like we would have thought that was. A lot of us were expecting that to be now, and that's not how it worked out. So, but we're not in a terrible time crunch now.
Okay. So, and I know probably my other colleagues have questions. We can get to those tonight, but I feel like given that we're not in time crunch, given that we still need legal opinion on this, and given that there's still some clarity that we want on the finances and the nuts and bolts of this, if there was a way for us to, if I were to move for us to punt this to the first meeting in, what month is this? Second meeting in May, would that be acceptable? And that would give commissioners sufficient time to submit questions to you and legal counsel, so we can make sure that we show up to the meeting with answers to all those questions and ready to make a motion on a contract.
And maybe before the chief answers that, I just want to remind everybody a little bit about our journey here too. Because if we go down that path, which is not unreasonable, given some of the bond questions that are out there, but just as a reminder, we've looked and analyzed and got everything lined up. So the feedback is really going to be pertaining to the details of the contract, right? So the decision to, move forward with this solution obviously is dependent on the type of contract we have, but I just want to, it's we have looked at the options in the past. We elected and gave direction to the chief and Mr. Fry to go pursue MPS, and a lot of our questions have been answered operationally about this. So I think out of fairness to, the PD, to Keith, Corey, to the folks on the other end of the bargaining table here, we, make sure we're specific about whatever we want or do, and specific about the questions, because, there is a contract here that reflects our previous dialogues as a commission. So just want to remind folks of that. Chief wanted to answer that question now, as far as, sorry, if it's, if we punted to the second week in May, the impact that would have.
So it won't have a huge, if that's the commission's, it's your prerogative, it won't have a huge impact. We're anxious to get it rolling, but obviously if we have unanswered questions or outlying concerns, we want to address those. So I would say it would be helpful if there's things other than what the bond counsel said, if there's other questions regarding this and the contract. Now would be a great time to ask them. So if there is other issues we need to resolve, we definitely want to get them resolved.
Well, and just to finish up my comments, and I say that just to say, like, this isn't one of those situations where we're in a time crunch, something's been presented to us, we need to feel stressed to get it approved. There's concerns. We have breathing room. So I don't want to definitely tonight, but we're not under the gun here. So I won't make a motion. I want to continue the dialogue, but there is no pressure here to move forward with this tonight. There's no harm to the city if we don't.
Correct. Yes, I would say yes.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
Any other questions? We'll go with Commissioner Perush and then Commissioner Macy.
I don't have any questions about the specifics in terms of how this would all operate, but I have some real serious concerns about the legal documentation that's in front of us. Because as I look at it, as an attorney, my mind is kind of spinning, because there's not one agreement here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 agreements that are all tied together into one agreement. And I haven't dived into it enough, because that's not my job, to find out whether or not the terms of all 7 of those agreements are consistent. But my guess is that they're probably not. There's probably some inconsistencies in there in terms of some of the terms and what some of those terms mean. Also, in terms of the parking services agreement, which is the first agreement that is right in front of you, it is very, very, very pro MPS. Let me just point out one section. If you go to page in attachment 1, it would be section 9, termination, subsection 1 up at the top of the page. It says no earlier than 36 months, which is 3 years, from the effective date, the city may terminate this agreement for convenience and without penalty upon 30 days written notice, but only if the average monthly revenue received by the city from spaces is below what's anticipated. We can only cancel for that reason. The next section says, MPS may terminate this agreement for material breach if the city fails to cure such breach within 30 days of receiving written notice, which is standard contract language, which allows you to give the opposing party notice of the default and then time to cure. But as far as we're concerned, as far as the city's right to terminate, we can only terminate if the revenue is low. So our ability to manage this contract and to expect MPS to perform under the contract is severely limited. We just don't have those enforcement rights. And that's just one thing that I found in this contract that is troubling. The way the terms are spelled out in terms of Exhibit A and Exhibit B, they're set out as terms defined, but they are actually legal obligations in there. It's not just, this is how we define space meter downtime. It's actually a description of what everybody's liability is. So there's legal consequences for many of the things that are spelled out in Exhibit A, those terms, which are not spelled out and identified as like contract terms. They're identified as legal terms, and these are just definitions. That's very concerning to me. And every other agreement after that, and there's 6 more, are kind of set up the same way. So I have real problems with this contract and the way it's written, and the fact that a number of clauses in it are very, very, very pro MPS and really, really restrict our legal rights under the contract. So my guess is that Anne McLaughlin has not had an opportunity to review this in detail. And given how complicated it is, it's going to take a fair amount of time for her to review it and set out the deficiencies in it and why it's in certain areas, it's not really a good deal for us, the way it's written. So I think she needs at a minimum until the second meeting in May to go through this and analyze it and come back to us with hopefully some revisions or provisions in the contract that are more favorable to us and frankly much more understandable, so that we understand what our rights and obligations are.
Commissioner Perush, I did have an opportunity to go through many of the provisions here. Actually, I've looked at all of these agreements, and while I looked at it from purely a legal perspective, not from a policy perspective, but I can certainly re-review for those considerations, because my job is not policy. My job is to make sure that the legal terms of the agreement are not totally unfavorable to the city. We did actually amend some of the terms to reduce the liability of the city, or to reduce the one-sidedness of the agreement to in some form. But certainly, if it's the commission's desire, I can look at it from more of a policy perspective and try to implement something closer to what you would be willing to accept, versus, as I said, I was only looking at it from a purely legal standpoint.
We'll go Commissioner Macy.
So I essentially agree with Commissioner Perush. I think that this contract is very heavily favors MPS. And I understand, the letter said Ms. McLaughlin reviewed it as to form, and I'm sure it holds up in that respect. But just so many things that we had hoped for when we talked about this program was that there would be some flexibility on the city side, and then we'd be able to work with them. And this is a very inflexible contract. There are many terms that are not at all favorable to the city. And in fact, the chief said, we don't owe them anything if we suddenly collect no money. That's actually not true. There's a minimum performance standard in here. And if they don't collect enough on a certain spot, they can decide to remove that spot without consulting us. Or the alternative is that we can pay them for the spot that's not making enough money. So there is a lot of things like that in here. And I also thought we had talked about having a 15-minute time, or having that time be flexible, the grace period, especially in this time when we're having the curbside to go, that would be something we could negotiate with them. I just expected a lot more give and take. And this is mostly the city will, the city will, the city will. And it made me pretty anxious looking through it. So I definitely agree that I'd like a chance to put this off and maybe collaborate with Ms. McLaughlin on some of the things that we're finding most concerning about this contract. And that's why I'm curious about what the cost would be to do it another way, and also what the revenue from the parking system would be. It just seems like it's not favorable to the city, and it's quite favorable to MPS, and I'd like to have those numbers in front of me.
Commissioner Douglas?
Yes, so others have mentioned my concerns. Something that drew my eye was I'm just looking at page 9 of the PDF, not necessarily of the document, but where it says, where did it go? Neither city nor MPS shall make disparaging public comments concerning the operations of the MPS Sentry system. Who is going to regulate that? What constitutes a disparaging public comment? Rhetorical question, but needs to be addressed.
Anybody else? Oh, Commissioner Hunt, I see up there.
without reiterating what everyone else said, and, I tend to agree with Commissioner Perush, and I don't want to go through each and every term that we disagree with, but I feel that this contract really handcuffs the city. And most importantly, I feel like it handcuffs the courts and how they're able to deal with tickets, letting go some of the tickets that come before them, and the monitoring of the spaces by patrol. But I wanted to ask Ms. McLaughlin, you indicated that you reviewed it as to form, but not necessarily as to content and, the terms of this, how favorable it is to the city or to MPS. Who would look out for the city as it relates to that, if you're reviewing it as to form rather than just content?
Well, from a policy perspective, it's not my job to make policy. It's up to you. And I knew that the city has done studies and has addressed this, generally the parking system situation long before I came on board. And so when this was presented, I did, as a matter of fact, I did change a number of the provisions that were presented initially, and MPS did agree to change those, make those changes that I had proposed. So from that perspective, I mean, I was simply looking at it as this was something that the city had long been involved in, that was not something that I was in a position to say, no, you can't do this. So as I said, I'd be more than happy to re-review some of these provisions and propose additional or alternative terms if that's what the commission desires.
I think so. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Colo, I think I saw some fingers there. All right, you're up. And there we go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I won't rehash everything everyone has said. I agree with a lot of the public statements made. I have also sent email to staff. So I've started outlining my concerns. I do agree that this is not a city favorable contract whatsoever. One of the big things that I'm concerned with is our ability to close off spaces moving into the future. And I'm looking at recovery. I'm looking at what 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 is going to look like now that we're potentially closing off spaces for restaurants, and the cost of those spaces that we now previously was just a cost on us. Now it's a cost we need to give to someone else. If we want to have a beer garden for the social districts we just made last week, there's a really high cost there. I think the idea of this system was nice, and then we saw, it's like seeing the making of the sausage when you see this contract. It's not quite, I think, what I'm looking for at least. So I'm happy to see the revision. I'm really interested in the ROI that we have, how long it takes for us to recoup our money, especially with the 100% revenue share that MPS would get for the first 6 months, what that costs us, especially when we go back to a 50% share thereafter. So I'd be really interested in that ROI when it's being put together for Commissioner Macy's request of how this system would compare to another system. Yes, sir.
I want to clarify a couple of things. I think Keith can talk about closing off spaces and how that'll work. The 100% is above, and Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's above once we get our normal historical data based off 2019 for the first 6 months, and it would apply to an area where we have no historical data, where we might request them to put meters into. So, for example, the north on Main past the hotel there, we have old meters there. We don't have any good data, so we're going to put in, push our smart meters up there. That's a potential area for expansion once we get that data. But Keith, you want to talk about the shutting things down, or the street sidewalk cafe things?
Right. MPS recognizes the fact that cities are struggling right now, and that cities are doing whatever they can to support the establishments, particularly the eateries and the bar venues that are within the cities. So a lot of the cities have already done what we are in the process of doing or have done, in that they've converted outside seating areas for patrons to utilize and support the businesses as well. There's nothing set in stone as far, although we've presented plans to you on what is proposed as far as the number of meters and the parking lots and coverage. As far as those spaces that are currently there, that are set aside right now for outside dining, those aren't spaces that I think the concern is the city going to suffer consequences for having set those apart? And the answer to that would be no, because we don't have meters in there yet. At some point in time, when hopefully when things are better than what they currently are, we would have the meters installed in there, and then those meters would be up and running, and hopefully we don't go back to where we've been here in the last year. As far as why this is weighed a little bit heavily, if I can address that briefly, in MPS's favor, is because of the huge investment that they're making into the city compared to what we otherwise would be the capital expense up front. And I think it is fair to ask what those numbers would be, and I'll get those numbers for you. But for the type of technology that we're getting, MPS has numerous patents on it. There is no, it's difficult to compare them to any other meter manufacturer right now. The closest thing would perhaps be something along the lines of kiosks, but not to the extent of what they have to provide. I've taken notes on everything that's been brought up. I will continue to work diligently to answer all these questions and these concerns that you may have. We have MPS representatives that are here that have been monitoring as well. That if we want to hear from them, that we can also, hear what they might have to say. But some of those clauses that are in there are actually to the benefit of the city. I can give you an example. Is the one clause that says that I think Commissioner Perush brought up. It actually protects the city, because if the city revenue falls below a threshold, the city can exit the contract. What we use for a threshold and what we were trying to determine for both MPS and the city's advantage was we realized or recognized that the last year is an anomaly. We can't use any of the data that we had for the last year. So we relied heavily on data that we had from both 2018 and 2019. And that's what established our historical background. And I think that it would be fair to say that those were probably the direction that we wanted to go in. But again, I've taken notes of everything that everyone said, and we'll address all the concerns that have been expressed.
Commissioner Colo. Commissioner Colo, can you unmute?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Frey, and I appreciate all the work you guys have put into this. This is, we started talking about this back in October. There's been a lot of study, a lot of input. There's some potential here. I just think we're not there quite yet. Mr. Mayor, having seen where this conversation has gone and where we are right now, I think I'd like to make a motion to table this until the May 24th City Commission meeting.
A motion by Commissioner Colo. Is there a second by Commissioner Douglas?
Mayor, I'd like to postpone that, or to say that the correct language is to postpone, not to table. I will second it, but it's a postponement.
Okay. Commissioner Colo, is that your intent to use the proper language?
Sure, yes.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion with a second. Any discussion on the motion? the only thing I'll add is I think my colleagues did bring up some very good points tonight, and I don't think any of them are insurmountable, but it's important that we hash out terms that we feel are best for our community. And what I would recommend is just similar to what Commissioner Prush did. I know Ms. McLaughlin's going to take a look as well and see and take a read through it. And if there's anything that sticks out, fundamentally that's missing, or you'd like to understand better, do we, Ms. McLaughlin, is that appropriate to send that to you for this one, or should we send it to you with a copy to the chief and to Mr. Fry? How do you want us to give you our thoughts and comments? Because we want to be, prepared 2 weeks from now, because it's not, pending, eventually we're going to get green lighted to open up our downtown, and, we'll be managing a lot of things. And to the extent, if this is a path we're going to go down under the right terms, then we'd rather have, not push it off another 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So
Yes, of course. I think I'd be happy to field the comments and concerns of the commissioners. And I think that probably sending them to myself as well as Mr. O'Donoghue and Mr. Fry, all of us, because they have had the direct communications with MPS and I have not. So to the extent that they can provide information that I might not be familiar with, and we can come to a workable solution so that the commission is comfortable when it comes back again.
thank you. All right. And I'm just I'm getting the sentiment here from everyone, including myself. I mean, we just want to be able to share in the reward, share in the risk, give some flexibility for our dynamic, vibrant downtown. We understand that doing deals like this, requires some securitization for the other party so they can, not have an overburden of risk, but, we gotta hash these out to make sure that we're both sharing in it equally. And I think, we'll get some good feedback back, and I don't believe it's going to be an impediment, maybe just some shifting some things around to make everyone feel more comfortable. So, all right, anybody else? All right, I'll call for the vote. We'll start with Commissioner Dubuck.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Commissioner Prush.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. All right, that brings us to the end of tonight's agenda. Notwithstanding anything for the betterment of our fellow friends and neighbors, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Commissioner Douglas, second by Commissioner Prush. Discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. We'll start Commissioner Dubuck.
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Colo.
Yes.
Prush.
Yes.
Commissioner Hunt.
Yes.
Commissioner Macy.
Yes.
And I vote yes. We're adjourned. Thank you to my colleagues for your thoughtful leadership tonight. Thank you to staff for all the preparation and work and thinking you do ahead of these meetings. Thank you for everyone tuning in. Thank you, Carol and Mr. Wilson, for your efforts tonight coordinating this remote call. Wishing everyone a very safe and healthy remainder of their week. See you again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.